Welcome to Rick's Corner. The man, the myth, the legend. Now on with the show.
Welcome to Rick's Corner. I have Doug Brignole back. Everybody seems to ask about Dougie. We want Doug, we want Doug, we want Doug. And so I pulled him out today to come over and we're going to discuss some things like we always do. And I always like his opinion, even though it doesn't always agree with mine. But who does agree with me as I get older?
But we agree to disagree and we do it politely.
But I have to tell you something, Doug. The older I get, the more opinionated I get. I watch the news and I watch what goes on in this world and I get mad. And I come home the other day and the street cleaners come by and they clean my street. And I come back again and someone threw McDonald's wrappers and boxes and shit all over my street, which I had to pick up.
So you're telling me that once upon a time that wouldn't have bothered you?
But it always bothered me. But just like really, like, come on, you guys. Let's take care of each other in this world. You don't trash somebody's yard with crap like that because you're too lazy to find a trash can. You know? And this morning I get up and I got the news and I see the Peninsula Hotel is all surrounded by police in Beverly Hills.
Yeah, right.
There's a shooter inside. What the hell?
The Peninsula, you mean in Santa Monica?
It's on.
Oh yeah, on
Beverly Hills.
Yeah, right.
What's going on in this world that this has to be? You know, it's then I just go to the gym and train hard.
Things are getting more chaotic, it seems, than ever before.
Getting crazy here.
All right, I can't watch the news anymore.
No, I do it when I'm in bed in the morning just to sit there and wake up. But what I don't like, and this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, they give the weather every 5 minutes. Yeah. Like I don't know already.
And like we can do something about it anyway.
No, I can't do anything about it. I can do something about my workout. Get up, eat, go to work out.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was yours talking about legs?
Well, we were talking a little bit before we started about quads.
Yes.
And so I thought that, it's worth devoting a segment to quads because I think that they're seriously misunderstood in terms of bodybuilding. This is important. Okay, we're bodybuilders, and some of you are, and some of you aren't, but this is about the context of bodybuilding, okay? So the first thing I want to say is that the quads are very much like the triceps.
Yes, they are.
The leg is very much like the arm in terms of a mechanism.
It's funny because I've always referred the two together.
Yeah, the quadricep is the tricep of the leg.
Right.
The hamstring is the bicep of the leg.
Even though it's reversed.
Well, I mean, it doesn't really matter what happens above the joint.
What I'm saying is your biceps in front and your bicep in your legs in back.
Right. In that sense, it's reversed. But if you put them side by side, anatomically, they look exactly alike.
Exactly.
The quadricep has more than one origin but one insertion. Okay. The tricep has more than one origin but one insertion. Right?
Yeah.
And both of them are hinge joints.
Yes.
Both of those hinges only move in one direction. And it's all or nothing. Right? In other words, all three heads or all four heads contract or nothing does. You can't selectively choose because that joint does one thing and a tendon only does one thing.
Right.
And since they all converge on one, they all have to participate. The only way for one part to participate but not the other would be for them to have their separate tendon. Their separate insertion.
It's teamwork.
Right. Okay. So with that in mind, let's just start off by saying that we're going to really, really narrow it down. First of all, I'm going to lay a little bit of physics here. I'm sorry if this is going to sound complicated. Stop me if I say something that's a little unclear so that we can make sure that it's clear.
Okay.
I brought a hammer.
Yes.
Okay, because I want to show levers. Okay, now this is a lever, and right now it is it is parallel to gravity. It's vertical, right? You can't see gravity, and it's important to know that even though you can't see it, what makes this neutral right now, meaning that it's pretty much holding itself up, is the fact that gravity is vertical.
Right.
Like this lever.
Right.
Okay. If I start to lean this thing to one side, it starts to want to continue falling to that side.
Because of gravity pulling it.
Right. And my effort to try to hold it there will be less than it would be here.
Right.
Less than it would be here.
Right.
Most, when it's horizontal, perpendicular gravity, if this was a pivot here, less, zero again.
Yes.
Okay? It's important to understand that. Okay, so we're going to call this vertical a zero lever.
Okay.
We're going to call this a 100% lever.
Okay.
Which means that a 45-degree angle could be called a 50% lever, etc., right?
I understand.
Gradations of the 100%. Okay. When you're squatting, before you start the squat, when you're standing there, looking at someone sideways, or they're looking at you sideways, your lower leg, which is the operating lever of your quadricep, is vertical. It's neutral. Your quad is not loaded, right? It will not be loaded until you start to bend your knees.
Perfect. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Because when you bend your knees, that lower leg will start to dip forward, just like that hammer did.
Same thing.
Right? And it'll increase the more it approaches the horizontal position.
Right.
Okay. But if you look at someone when they're squatting, that lower leg never even gets to a 45-degree angle.
The lower leg.
The lower leg.
Okay.
Right? It certainly never gets horizontal.
No,
right?
it's not going.
Right?
Yeah.
Which means it never gets close to being 100% lever.
Okay.
It doesn't even get close to being a 50% lever. It only goes about 30% from neutral.
Right.
That means these are percentages, right? That means that whatever weight is on your back, you're only getting about 30% of it on your quads.
Why? Where's the going?
Well, it's going straight down. The point is that you're using an inefficient lower leg lever.
Okay.
Right? Exactly, right? So now what happens is this, is you feel the 200 pounds, let's say, feels light. Well, part of the reason why it feels light and that you can use more is because your lower leg is only working with 30% efficiency.
Right.
If you tried to do a sissy squat with 200 pounds, it would be a lot.
Yes,
right?
Of course, yeah.
But because of that short dipping forward, you're getting only a fraction of that. So what do? You add more weight to compensate for the fact that you're using an inefficient quadricep lever, right? But the additional weight compresses your spine more. So there's a price to pay for the inefficiency of your quadricep lever.
Okay.
Now, you might say, well, but look at the upper bone, the upper leg bone, the femur.
Yeah.
It is getting horizontal, right?
Right.
But there's two things that determine how much load a lever is producing. Part of it is the angle that it's tipping, and the other is the length of it. Okay?
Yeah.
So when you see someone squatting from the side and they're in the descended position, and you see their femur, their thigh bone, being horizontal, you go, oh, that's a 100% lever. But the lower leg is doubling under it.
Okay. Yeah, I see that.
Right?
Yeah.
And that doubling under reduces the effective lever length of the femur. It shortens it, because in physics there's this thing called the moment arm. So if you drew a vertical line, a straight vertical line from the heel straight up, it would go straight through that thigh, and then you go to the thigh and you say, oh, it's only about 8 or 9 inches long by the time that lower leg doubles under it. So yes, the upper leg bone, the femur, is 100% lever, but it's a short one.
Gotcha.
Okay, so it's also compromised as a gluteus lever, right? So you've got a shortened gluteus lever and an inefficient lower leg lever.
This is very confusing.
Lever. I know, I'm sorry. So what I'm getting at is this, is that the reason why we can squat so much weight, but we can't sissy squat so much weight, is because you're making the lower leg lever far more efficient. And from an efficiency standpoint, if you look at the dictionary and look up efficiency, you say, bang for the buck.
Yeah.
Right? If you want the most amount of muscle load with the least amount of weight, then you want to use efficient levers. Okay. So I'm sorry if this is going to be complicated. I'm going to try to make it simple. So if you look at someone from the side and in the descended position of a squat, and you say, well, how do I make the lower leg lever more efficient? You push the pelvis forward, right? In other words, right? You get into a sissy squat position, and that allows that lower leg to dip farther forward, but guess what you've done? You've eliminated the glute.
Yes, you have.
Okay, how do I make the glute work harder? You straighten down that lower leg lever and you eliminate the quad. Right? So what benefits one eliminates the other. The fact that you're trying to do both at the same time is what compromises both at the same time. Okay? So the question you have to ask, we all have to ask ourselves is, if I'm getting an equal benefit by working two muscles at one time, the glutes and the quads, then I'm saving time, right? But you're not actually saving time, because you'll still do a glute exercise, you'll still do a quad exercise, right? So the question is the benefit that my quads are getting during squats and the glutes are getting during squats, is that as good, better than, or worse than it would be if I just did a dedicated exercise? Okay, now I called it a dedicated exercise because people have a negative regard for the word isolated exercise.
Okay.
But a dedicated exercise means that you're focusing on that one muscle.
Right, makes sense.
When you do triceps, what do? Tricep pushdowns?
Yeah.
Skull crushers? Those are dedicated exercises.
Yeah.
Right? If you lie down on your back, imagine that I'm laying down flat on the bench. If I go like this, right, this lever is crossing gravity perpendicularly, and my tricep is getting loaded.
Right.
If I went like this, which is the equivalent of a squat, where I'm only letting this lever go to 30% from neutral, that would not be a good tricep exercise.
No, not at all.
And yet we call that a good quadricep exercise when we're talking about legs. right? So what I'm saying is let's treat the quads like we do the triceps.
Okay.
Okay. So a little bit more anatomy here. If you look at a quadricep muscle, right, an anatomy chart, you will see that 3 of the 4 quadricep heads only cross the knee joint.
Okay.
Right?
Where's the 4th one?
The 4th one crosses the knee joint and crosses the hip joint.
Okay.
Okay. So 3 of those 4 heads only do one thing, and that is extend the leg. Right? So those 3 muscles have no role whatsoever in extending the hip and pushing downward, which is what happens when you squat.
Right.
They play no role whatsoever. They don't even care that the glute is also working. They don't know that the glute is also working. So now the question is, what about that 4th one? Well, the 4th one crosses the hip joint in front, which means it doesn't push downward, it pulls upward.
Okay.
It is a hip flexor.
All right.
Okay. I'm sorry this is so complicated, but it's very interesting, and it's very, very, very important if you want to maximize the efficiency of your workout. So in biomechanics, there's this thing called reciprocal innervation. We talked about this a little bit, right?
Okay.
In other words, reciprocal innervation basically means that if I activate my tricep, I deactivate my bicep. Mm-hmm. Right? So like if I tap my bicep like this, it's not loaded. If I tap it, you can see that it's not hard.
Yeah.
But I'm going to push down on this table as if I'm doing a tricep push down, and watch what happens.
Yeah. You deactivated it.
Completely.
Yeah.
Okay, so that happens throughout the whole body, which means that anytime and every time that you activate a muscle, something is being deactivated. You may not be aware of it.
You're not aware of it.
But something, when you're doing leg extensions, the hamstring is deactivating.
Right, okay.
Right? When you're doing chest, the back muscles are deactivating.
Yeah, you're not even thinking about it.
You're not even aware of it, but it's always happening.
Okay.
Okay. So what happens when you combine quadricep and glute by doing a squat? Well, guess what? You're activating the glute, which is the opposite of the hip flexor.
Okay.
You are weakening part of the quadricep just by engaging the glute.
Okay.
Because it's opposite.
Then how do you avoid all this?
Work one at a time. Okay, but let me get one. I know you want to cut to the chase.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: is that reciprocal innervation not only has to do with the loading of a muscle, but also the stretching of a muscle. So let's just say you're going to pick up a dumbbell and you're going to go like this, and you say, okay, I can curl pretty easily a 40-pound dumbbell. If you sit on a lat pull-down station and grab a handle from above and you try curling 40 pounds, you won't be able to do it. Mm-hmm. And the reason is because as you're doing this, you're stretching the tricep. Mm-hmm. And that stretch is sending what they call a relaxation synapse, a shut-off mechanism to the bicep. So anytime that the opposite side is stretching, the front side is getting weaker.
Oh,
okay. So when you squat down, the stretching, the forward moving of that femur, stretching the hamstring also compromises the quad. Right? So you have, now the way you can prove this to yourself. All you got to do is stand in front of a pulley, grab the pulley handles, which are at a 45-degree angle toward the ground, and with those pulley handles, do a squat and then do a sissy squat. And you'll find that the sissy squat is easier than the squat, and yet it shouldn't be. Because when you're squatting, you're using the glutes and the quads. But when you're doing a sissy squat, and you will find that the quads feel awesome when you eliminate that femur from going forward.
All right, so you're saying that do the sissy squat.
I'm saying do sissy squats and leg extensions for the quads as your primary quad exercise.
There's several ways to do sissy squats.
Right.
You said with a cable, or you can take a rope and put it around the bar and squat back.
Or you could just do it, just balance.
Just balance. I used to do them years ago, and they actually gave me a good sweep in my thigh.
Yeah. Well, it won't change the shape of the leg.
Well, no, but I got a good sweep.
Yeah.
Because it was focused on it.
Yeah.
And I always did squats too, but I was telling you earlier, because all of you know I had a knee replacement last year.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to really work legs for many years the way I wanted.
Yeah.
And I did my hamstrings, I did my extensions to my calves, but when it came to hitting quads, it was just easier for me to sit down on a leg press. Because I was afraid to squat, I was afraid to do anything with that knee, it was just going to shoot right out underneath me. Since I had the knee replacement and I have no pain, I went back to doing hack squats because I felt they were safer than holding the bar. And plus, when you get older and your shoulders hurt, you can't hold the bar anyway. Yeah.
Well, but we were talking about the leg press, and here's the thing is, when you finish extending your legs on the leg press, your body is in a piped position. It's in an L shape.
Yeah.
Right? When you do a squat, it's not. It's straight up and down.
Right.
Okay. So that means that, getting back to what I was saying earlier, the fact that you are in a piped position means that you are actually stretching your hamstring throughout the entire movement.
And you're not working a quad.
Well, it's not that. Well, first of all, you have an almost parallel tibia, lower leg, to the direction of the movement, right? So you have a very, very neutral lower leg quadricep lever when you're doing leg press. But separate from that, you also have a little bit of a deactivation of the quadricep because you're having the stretching going on.
Yeah.
So that's why hack squats feel better to you, because you have less hamstring stretching happening.
Well, I did the leg press for the solid year, and I never saw any difference in my thigh at all.
Yeah.
So the past month, it's been 4 weeks, I've been doing hacks twice a week.
Yeah.
Not heavy, quarters on each side.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go crazy on this knee, but my knee can handle it.
Right.
And when I'm done, I'm done. I'm tired. And I can see already, like I said, I gained some weight back. I feel fuller in the legs just from doing the hacks, because it's a different position than the leg press.
Right. Well, it's more efficient because when you're having the hack squat machine, you can actually put your feet farther back.
Yes.
And that lets your knees go farther over your toes.
Yes.
And the more they go over your toes, the more perpendicular with the direction of the resistance you get. In other words, a bigger percentage of the lever, getting back to this thing, you're getting a bigger percentage of the load because that lower leg is getting more perpendicular with resistance.
And with a sissy squat, if you see them the way Vince used to do them, the knees go way over the top of the feet, way over.
Listen, all I can tell you is it's really important to understand that bodybuilding is not powerlifting, right? We cannot and should not measure how well we're doing in bodybuilding exercises by how much weight we're using.
Right.
Because there's a lot of things that determine whether we can or cannot. If I were to crank up a car with a big crowbar, does that mean that I'm strong?
No, I just
right. If I were to lift that car up or that box up with my bare hands without the benefit of this lever, I could be working harder, even though that thing weighs less.
Yeah.
Right. So there's factors that go into it, and so in this book, which we talk about all the time, this is all explained, and the disadvantage we have here is that you can't see pictures, you can't see arrows.
Right.
So this has it all. There's 900 images in here, with all kinds of examples and comparisons.
By the way, he has sold a ton of these books. Everybody who buys the book said that he should be charging twice the amount that he charged.
I've had a few people actually send me a second payment after they read it, and they go, "This thing is worth twice the money."
Yeah, I know you have. I know.
Anyway, it's called The Physics of Fitness. If you want it, just email me, dbfitness@aol.com, and or you could just send me a PayPal payment of $50, same username, dbfitness@aol.com, and it'll explain the mechanics of the body for the purpose. I mean, look, mechanics is mechanics, physics is physics. So you can, if you want to be a better pole vaulter, you can still benefit from reading this book, right?
Yeah.
But it is specifically focused on how to make weight training more efficient so that when we get to 50, 60, 70 years old, we can still train.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? There's a lot of people that aren't able to train anymore because the exercise that they've done historically were so inefficient that their joints are beat up.
This is true. This is another subject. But I want to say that ever since I started doing these hacks like a month ago, all my whole upper body came up alongside because I was doing legs.
Right.
It was stimulating everything in my body by holding on and doing what I do and putting it all together. And I walked out of that gym. If you can.
The moral of the story is don't neglect your legs.
The moral of the story is the little things in life really make you happy. And it wasn't anything that day that made me more happy than to be able to do the hack squats. I walked out of that gym all day feeling, my God, I accomplished what I did that I wanted to do at my age.
Right.
And I've done this before, but now with this new knee, I can do anything now. I felt really good about it.
Right.
Really good about it.
Little success stories.
Yeah, I mean, I have no pain. And people say, how's your knee? I say, I have no pain at all. It's great.
Right.
I'm just happy to do it.
And you did both knees, right?
No, I just did the
one knee.
The other one's okay.
Yeah, I've got a client that actually had both knees replaced, like a month apart.
Well, Doug Brignole did too, and hips. So I mean,
and look at Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah, I mean, eventually you might have to do it, but right now I don't have any problem with it.
Yeah. Listen, those of you that are over 50, but certainly over 60, over 70, I've had a lot of emails from people who say they just cannot do the traditional exercises anymore. They cannot do the squats, they cannot do the upright rows, the overhead presses. You don't have to do them.
I want to save that for the next show.
Okay. Well, the point is that better mechanics, better physics is useful.
We're going to get into that.
Okay.
Doug, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
You guys go out and work legs, buy Doug's book, and learn how to do it the proper way. And don't neglect your legs, because there's too many bodybuilders. I remember way back in the day say, oh, look at the broad shoulders on that guy, but he's got chicken legs.
Yeah, right.
You used to see so much of that, because so many bodybuilders back then would not work their legs.
It was much more common then than it is now.
Much more common then. It just wasn't.
But still, my training partner hates working legs.
I like it now.
If it wasn't for me training with him, he would just do arms and chest.
It's easy to give it up. Thank you guys for watching Rick's Corner, and we will see you all next time. Hey everyone, now you can have the Gold's Gym logo drawn by me, the artist Rick Drasin. personalized and made out to you and signed by me to frame and put on your gym wall or wherever you see fit to do so. It's a piece of bodybuilding history. It will never be duplicated again. It's the largest selling icon t-shirt logo in the world, and I'm the guy that drew it, and I will draw it for you. Just go to my website, rickdrasin.com, and order there. You can pay through PayPal, and it'll be sent out right away. And be sure to watch Rick's Corner for all the videos on bodybuilding, nutrition, fitness, pro wrestling, and anything that suits your interest as far as getting physically fit and being the best you can be from the golden era of bodybuilding.
It's Rick Drasin. He's the equalizer, baby. See you next time.